Hope you enjoy listening. After I got pregnant, my husband hired a 20-year-old nanny to stay at home and take care of my daily activities. During the day she cooked, and at night she live-streamed dancing in a low-cut nightgown. She was so hot that I couldn't sleep, causing the fetal heart rate to become unstable, and in the end the baby died. She acted pitiful, crying every day at my husband, saying how she had gone too far. But as soon as my husband went to work, she live-streamed as usual. One time I came home early from a business trip, and as soon as I opened the door, I saw the nanny wearing my low-cut nightgown, her voice sweet and full of affection. "Professor Lee, I'm really sorry. If you don't mind, I don't mind comforting you for losing your child." Looking from behind Yi Kylie's plump body, her curves were like wax, plunging into my husband's body. My husband turned his face to the side and casually threw her a shirt. "Put it on, my wife is just on a business trip and will be back soon." My husband walked into the study with an unchanged expression. Yi Kylie angrily stomped her feet and returned to her room. I was very pleased with my husband's attitude. Actually, I was on a business trip today, but I felt uneasy, so I asked for leave to come back early. As expected, Deep Kai Lu is my mother-in-law's distant niece, who just graduated from university and hasn't found a job yet. When she heard that I had a miscarriage and needed to hire a maid, my mother-in-law quickly called to introduce her. I also found it strange that my mother-in-law lives in the countryside all year round. No matter how many times my husband and I invited her, she never came to visit, but now that we opened our mouths to ask, we immediately agreed. But now I don't want to be patient anymore. Live streaming in the middle of the night on and off is fine, but now you're brazenly trying to steal my husband. I immediately called my mother-in-law and explained everything. She hesitated for 2 seconds, then forced a smile and said, "Impossible, impossible. Lulu is not that kind of person. I watched her grow up. You're pregnant, you worry too much. There's someone at home, so I can rest assured." Before I could finish, my mother-in-law hurriedly said she was working in the field and hung up. Before hanging up the call, I clearly heard 2 cold laughs. I pushed the door open and called out, "Honey, I'm home." My husband immediately came out to greet me. His name is Li Kai, a visiting professor at a university, gentle, polite, very good-natured, like a man of principles. There was still a look of annoyance on his face, but when he saw me, a smile immediately appeared. "Honey, you're back." At this time, Yi Kylie also came out of the room. She had changed into another outfit, but still wore no makeup, looking innocent and pure. She intimately put her arm around me. "Drunk, you're back, Kai, and I miss you so much, we almost died." She even leaned against me, her hand unconsciously grabbing my bag. I love shopping. I buy cosmetics and clothes everywhere I go. Before, every time I brought her home, I let her choose a few things she liked. Now it's become a habit. But today I came back in a hurry, didn't buy anything, just brought a bag of dirty clothes. She seemed unhappy but didn't say anything. "Xiaoyi, have you cooked yet?" Yi Kylie pursed her lips. "Drunk. I just came back today, let's go out for a meal together." At that moment, I suddenly understood why I always felt uncomfortable talking to her. Even though she was a maid in my house, because of her relationship with my husband, I always treated her like a younger sister in the house. "Xiaoyi, you came to this house to be a nanny, taking care of my sister's food, accommodation and transportation. That is your duty." The words were clear. She was a little embarrassed and angry, but when she raised her head and saw my husband, her eyes filled with tears, looking extremely pitiful. "Alcohol, alcohol. I'm sorry, I thought you wouldn't come home today. Mr. Kai said that cooking 2 simple dishes would be fine, so I did." Before I could finish, my husband suddenly interrupted. "Okay, if I'm told to cook, then go cook. I didn't come here to be a guest." Li Kai is usually gentle and kind, but when he gets angry, he is very scary. He put his arm around my shoulder, took the bag from my hand, and led me into the room. After closing the door, he hugged me and told me everything that had just happened. "Honey, you know, the person I love the most is always you. But you also understand my mother's personality. She has always been stubborn like that. She has never been satisfied with you. I just want to maintain our relationship. The grandson that I had so hard to get now was very difficult for me. My mother-in-law had never liked me. She thought that I was a rich young lady who didn't do anything, so I definitely wouldn't take good care of Lai Kai. The first time I went home with Lai Kai to meet my parents, my mother-in-law went to the fields early in the morning, and only came back late in the evening to talk to me for a few words, then went to sleep again. The next day, Lai Kai had to take me out to find her and talk to her for a bit. When we got home, my real Mary Jane shoes were ruined. A few days ago, when she told me I was pregnant, my mother-in-law smiled at me for the first time and said a few kind words. But now the baby is gone. For the past 2 days, my husband has been busy preparing teaching materials, and after eating, he goes back to the study to work. Deep Kai Lu and I had nothing to talk about, so we quickly went back to our room to rest. There was still a cradle in the room, a gift my husband had carefully prepared for the unborn child. Every time I saw it, I felt guilty towards my husband. He was obviously a person who loved children. After my mood had calmed down a bit, I opened my phone and saw that the video app was suggesting a live stream. At the same time, the sound from the next room was also at its peak. The whole house seemed to be about to collapse. I used a sub-account to secretly enter Yi Kylie's live stream room, where she was dancing seductively. She had a beautiful figure. Combined with her innocent and harmless face, she was really eye-catching. The first time I saw her, I had to secretly admire her. After she finished dancing, she started chatting with the audience. I've been feeling a little sad these past few days, I don't know why. The person who was at the top of the charts immediately texted back. Then come over to my house. The ambiguous words made people blush and their hearts beat faster. I was about to leave when I suddenly heard a sentence. I was at your house and fell. Deep Kai Lu rubbed her chest and smiled seductively. My hand that was pressing the exit button paused, continuing to listen to what else they were saying. How many days have you and your brother been living together? He gave you a limited edition necklace for women. My heart was pounding on the necklace. I couldn't help but look at the bedside table where the necklace my husband gave me on my birthday last month was. But Deep Kai Lu did not mention anything more about the necklace and changed the subject. Someone asked me about this pair of earrings. They are a limited edition of a private Italian brand that is no longer for sale. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Because those earrings are mine. Seems I was thinking too much. Yi Kylie, who was always so proud, started to get caught up in nonsense. As soon as I put down my phone, my husband texted me to not play with my phone late at night, and to remember to go to bed early. I smiled and replied with a cute okay sticker. But I still couldn't sleep, I wasn't sleepy anyway. So I thought I'd just wait for my husband to come home. While I was sitting, I heard the sound of the door unlocking. I quickly ran out, and when I got to the door, I saw that Deep Kai Lu was there too. She had just finished live streaming, her makeup still on, wearing a tight dress, standing barefoot on the ground. Mr. Kai, you're back, you fell down. Like Kai just said, and walked straight towards me. After entering the room, I opened my husband's phone. There was still an open page on it, and the avatar of the person chatting in the live stream room was indeed the top one account from earlier. The profile picture was a sloppily taken landscape photo. One look and you could tell it was taken randomly. But the IP address seemed different. Curious, I flipped my husband's phone over and checked every corner. But other than that page, there was nothing suspicious. I also checked the livestream app. Other than that account, everything else looked like it was newly registered. For now, I felt somewhat reassured. Early in the morning, Deep Kai Lu knocked on the bedroom door. I always had a feeling of unease, so I also got up and followed my husband to open the door. Sure enough, it was just as I thought. Deep Kai Lu was only wrapped in a towel, her head covered in a hat, her hair wet, her hot body fully exposed, her eyes filled with tears. Brother Kai, can you come and help me check the bathroom? The water is overflowing. Hearing this, Lai Kai's face immediately tensed up. Without saying a word, he went straight into the bathroom. I was about to follow when Deep Kai Lu stopped me. That's a man's business, you two just wait here. She stood in front of the door making me angry, so I pushed her aside and walked out. The moment she lightly bumped into her arm, Yi Kylie suddenly changed her tone. The baby in her belly is gone, you must be heartbroken, right? I clearly felt her eyes filled with hostility. I heard that you didn't listen to me, insisted on going to work, and then fell on the road. When I mentioned my unborn child, my heart ached. Deep Kai Lu suddenly blinked her big eyes and leaned closer. Sister Du, can you give birth? Does your body still have enough strength to carry a healthy baby? I don't understand why at this moment Deep Kai Lu seemed to have become a completely different person. Although she had often acted like a green tea girl in front of my husband before, she had never attacked me so bluntly like today. For a moment, I really didn't know how to respond. Sister Du, let me help you? I remember that Brother Kai really likes children. Help with what? At that moment, Lai Kai suddenly appeared and asked what we were talking about. Deep Kai Lu blinked her eyes innocently. Didn't say anything? I asked my husband what he was doing in there. The wind blew, he thought I was still recovering. If the water seeped into the floor, it would make the whole room damp. I didn't think much about it anymore. My husband Lai Kai and I each went our separate ways to work. When we arrived at the company, the male colleague sitting next to me was watching Deep Kai Li's live stream. Another colleague asked curiously, "This girl is really pretty, she doesn't look like she's a mother at all." A mother? I blurted out in surprise, and the whole office fell silent. Deep Kai Lu was a mother? How come I didn't know? She's always said she went back to her hometown right after graduating from university. Colleague explained to me. I heard that this woman had an unwanted pregnancy and already had a child. And the person who was with her revealed it in the live stream comments. I frowned, completely unable to understand what my colleague was saying. My mind was in a mess all day. My mother-in-law called and told me to take a few days off to go back to my hometown to relax. She rarely calls me, and I don't want to refuse to spoil her mood. At the end of the call, she also told me, "When you go back, take Kai Lu with you." After work, I suddenly didn't want to go home. I just wanted to take a walk to feel refreshed. Too many things had happened recently. I hadn't had time to calm down and think clearly. A gentle wind blew, and my mind gradually cleared up. Li Kai and I were university classmates, and had been together for almost the entire time. How could I not trust him? Perhaps I was just thinking too much. Ahead, a familiar figure passed by, looking very much like Yi Kai Li, and was also leading a little girl. It seemed that what my colleague said was true. But why? From beginning to end, no one said anything to me. I hurried to chase after him, but a car suddenly passed by, blocking my view. When I looked up, the mother and daughter had disappeared without a trace. On the way home, my heart was in turmoil. I opened the door and entered. Deep Kai Lu was still home. The clothes on her body were completely different from the woman I saw 3 days ago. I must have seen wrongly. Just as I was about to take a shower, there was a loud knock on the door. "Come out. Is anyone home? Come out here." I opened the door. A brawny man with his hands on his hips shouted, "Your house has a water leak. Don't you know how to fix it? Water is dripping onto my house." His eyes darted around, finally stopping on Deep Kai Lu. I apologized profusely and promised to compensate him for all the damages. But he still couldn't jump. His eyes were fixed on the woman next to me. Lai Kai had just come home from work and saw the situation. He immediately stepped forward to block me. In his hand he carried a bag containing the clothes I had sent to the dry cleaners, asking him to bring them back on the way. The man was still staring at Deep Kai Lu with lust. Lai Kai saw this and naturally took the clothes from the bag and gave them to Deep Kai Lu. She accepted it naturally, even deliberately glanced at me while changing clothes, her eyes full of provocation. When we got back to the room, my husband kept explaining to me clearly. But inside I felt stubborn and angry, not wanting to say a word to him. After that night, Deep Kai Lu stopped live streaming. I told my husband about my plans to visit his hometown for a few days. Lai Kai hugged me and refused. "Don't go, I'm afraid you'll feel wronged." I reassured him many times that I was fine and could go home. But his firm refusal made me start to doubt. I have to go back to his hometown. Not only to clear up the confusion in my heart, but also because of Deep Kai Li's matter. I cannot let a volatile factor like her continue to exist in my marriage. In the car, Deep Kai Lu wore headphones and listened to music quietly. Only my husband kept sighing and drinking water. I asked him what was wrong. He just replied vaguely, "It's okay. Probably because I haven't slept well these past few days, my mind is a bit tense." When I got home, my mother-in-law came to the gate to welcome me, very enthusiastically. Hot rice and soup were already prepared in the house. My heart felt a little warm. Mother-in-law stepped forward and stopped Deep Kai Lu, who was about to leave with her luggage, from staying for dinner. She agreed, and the mother-in-law conveniently linked arms with both Lai Kai and Deep Kai Lu and entered the house. From behind it looked like a family of 3. I stood still, arms crossed, feeling uncomfortable, neither stepping forward nor saying anything. Lai Kai realized something was wrong, quickly stopped, turned around and coaxed me into the house. At that moment, His mother-in-law's face was slightly unhappy. During the meal, she kept putting meat in Lai Kai's bowl, then naturally put chicken thighs in Deep Kai Lee's bowl. I was the only one being treated like an outsider. My mother-in-law asked me all sorts of questions, but never mentioned that I was still recovering from measles. After eating, my mother-in-law told Lee Kai to take Yi Kai Lee home. I was unhappy, but I couldn't refute. Rather than letting her stay here for the night, it was better to take some time to send her home. My mother-in-law and I stood under the eaves, sending the two of them off. She sighed softly. Those two were childhood sweethearts. I watched them grow up since they were little. I didn't understand what this meant. When we got home, I sat with her watching TV. I took out the prepared box of nutritious food to give to her. She smacked her lips. It's out, my bones are rotten, what's the point of eating these? There's no happiness to enjoy. I was about to comfort her. She continued to complain. Geez, I'm this old and I don't even have a grandchild. Little Jew, you're recovering. You should think about having children, otherwise you won't have anything left in the future. I tried to suppress my feelings and forced a smile. Mom, nowadays there are many couples who choose to live without children. If it still doesn't work out in the future, then we'll be fine living like this. The mother-in-law let out a cold laugh, chewing on melon seeds and muttering, if it really doesn't work, then borrow someone else's stomach and then just raise the child. I was completely confused. How could someone like my mother-in-law, who was so conservative, come up with such a ridiculous idea? I returned to my husband's room, tears still in the corners of my eyes. He still hadn't come home. Not knowing what to think, I fell asleep without realizing it. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, my mother-in-law pulled me up to cook. She said that today her neighbors were coming to visit and wanted to meet her newlywed daughter-in-law, whom she had not met for 7 years. Before I could open my eyes, my mother-in-law threw a pile of vegetables in front of me, telling me to pick them all and wash them. Everyone stood in front of me, chattering away in a local language that I did not understand. I bowed my head and worked quietly. Deep Kai Lu also arrived. As soon as she appeared, everyone surrounded her. I don't know what they said, but everyone was laughing. Lai Kai and I slept in separate rooms. I slept on the first floor, next to my mother-in-law's room. Lai Kai was on the second floor, in a hidden room at the back, probably not awake yet. By chance, I saw a little girl standing near Deep Kai Lu. She kept looking around as if looking for someone. Lai Kai stepped out from behind the door, his eyes still half asleep, looking hazy. The little girl saw him and immediately rushed over, calling out, "Dad!" The entire yard suddenly fell silent. Deep Kai Lu stood in the middle of the crowd, not saying a word, her eyes following everyone. Only the mother-in-law reacted quickly, hurriedly ran over to pull the girl back, and explained to me. She's just a kid talking nonsense. She's the eldest daughter of Lee's sister, named Chu Van, and often comes here to play. Mother-in-law pointed at me and said, "This is my uncle's wife, you must call her aunt." Chu Van looked at me in surprise and politely greeted me. "Hello, auntie." I just smiled awkwardly. I finally had some time to rest, and Deep Kai Lu walked over to me. "Sister Wine, actually you look really good in this outfit." I knew what she was referring to. My hair was tied back with a rubber band and I was wearing an old, greasy apron. It was hard to pretend not to understand. In the distance, Chu Van was playing marbles with Lai Kai, the two of them laughing and talking happily. Their husband. That day, Deep Kai Lu said something that made people uncomfortable. "Oh, the other day I took Chu Van out and met you too. But I saw you looking so evil, like a person who had lost your soul, so I didn't say hello." A sound echoed in my head. I don't know why my heart was beating so fast. I was unusually nervous. Suddenly, Chu Van ran over, hugged Deep Kai Lu and said nothing. Lai Kai walked over and naturally put his arm around my shoulder. Deep Kai Lu was unreasonable and even interrupted. "Brother Kai likes children so much, you two should quickly have one." Those words were like a knife piercing deep into my heart. But this time I was not going to hold back. I did not dare to give birth randomly. If giving birth was that easy these days, everyone would be laying hens. I even heard the villagers say that looking at you, you really are an easy mother. That statement left Deep Kai Lu speechless. The next morning when I left the room, I found that Deep Kai Lu was still there. She was holding Chu Van in her arms, wearing home clothes. My mother-in-law quickly came out to explain. I came too late so my mother wouldn't let her and me go home. Oh yeah, let the neighbor girl take me for a walk around the village. The neighbor was a quiet, bespectacled college girl named Yai. The neighbors here were all indifferent to me, as if they didn't want to talk to me. But being neighbors, you can't force them to like you. When I passed the village chief's house, he suddenly called me over. As soon as we arrived, the village chief's wife came out of the house, also with an unpleasant and cold expression. One look and you could tell she wasn't the type to give birth easily. I heard she had a miscarriage? I was confused and clutched my shirt, nodding slightly. The village chief said, "Women have the responsibility to give birth to a son and carry on the family line. If they cannot give birth to a son, it is best to give way to someone else." He said something else but I couldn't hear clearly. Yai immediately pulled me away. The next houses were no different. At first, they said I was in poor health and had lost a child. Then, after 7 years of marriage, my stomach was still quiet, so I should give up my place to someone else and not take their place. My mood was at its worst, I just wanted to go home immediately. Yai held me back, looking around as if afraid someone might hear. She said softly, "There are truths that cannot be seen with the eyes. What is considered truth may be just an illusion." I kept thinking about that saying. During dinner, Chu Van insisted on watching cartoons. The whole table my grandmother pampered me, everyone was focused on her. Deep Kai showed her motherly demeanor. Her mother-in-law interrupted with a smile, while Lai Kai gently fed her child like a real father. Seeing that scene, a doubt arose in my heart. I picked up Chu Van and used the baby feeding skills I learned from my customers to feed her. The little girl obediently finished her bowl of rice. The mother-in-law was cheerful, still the same wonderful person, looking at the two of them like they were mother and daughter. After the meal, I secretly asked Yai to take Li Kai and Xiao Yun's hair for a DNA test. During the days in the countryside, I gradually calmed down. And gradually, I realized that things were not as simple as I thought. Every day, I locked myself in my room, pretending to the outside world that I was working. From morning to night, only during mealtimes did everyone see me. My mother-in-law and Li Kai always looked like they wanted to say something but stopped, but when they saw my cold face, they opened their mouths. The professor job that Li Kai had was something I found for him. I don't deny that he is capable, but if it weren't for my connections, how could he have had that opportunity? My mother-in-law understood this, so she always tried to avoid living with us. The night before we were about to leave, my mother-in-law called me out and told me to burn incense for my deceased father-in-law. Married for 7 years without a child, not only is it a mistake to me, but also a mistake to her husband's father in the afterlife. I finally raised my head and found Deep Kai Lu standing there. Kai Lu is the child I grew up watching. Our two families have known each other for a long time. How about this? Let me give birth to a child for my family, then you raise it as your own. Those absurd words were spoken so gently as if giving a favor. Deep Kai Lu looked at me and said, "Sister Ju, I truly love Brother Kai. I am willing to give birth to his child. I don't need anything in return." I grabbed her collar and gave her 2 hard slaps in the face. All the emotions that had been suppressed for the past few days now burst out. My mother-in-law quickly jumped in to intervene. That evil woman who can't give birth and still argues. If it were in the past, I would have told Lai Kai to leave her a long time ago. I couldn't stand it anymore and started arguing with her. Tu Van ran in at that time, frightened by the arguing noise. In the chaos, she searched the room for Deep Kai Lu. I saw her in such a panic that she almost fell. I wanted to rush over to help her, but Deep Kai Lu grabbed my hand stopped in midair. Xiao Yun fell straight to the ground, hitting the incense bowl. The red burning coals fell on her. Li Kai heard the crying and rushed over from that angle. He thought I was the one who knocked the girl over. Yi Kai Li immediately changed his tone as if acting, ran over and hugged Xiao Yun. I think I will never forget the look in Lai Kai's eyes when he looked at me at that moment, stunned, disappointed and angry. He carried Chu Van away, and when he passed me, he only said one sentence. "I didn't expect you to be so cruel as to attack a child." I was really disappointed. The house suddenly became empty and I was the only one left. Yai walked in and handed me the DNA test paper. I knew Yai knew everything from the beginning. I don't blame her for not telling me, because in a place where everyone is united against me, if she told the truth, it would only cause more trouble for her and her family. I was already extremely grateful for her helping me quietly do a DNA test. The moment I opened the test paper, even though I had a vague guess in my heart, I still couldn't hold back my tears, confirming the biological father-son relationship. The paper was black and white, clear and undeniable. I packed up my things, put the test paper in the most visible place, and left. On the way, I called my assistant. General manager Do, as you guessed. Fortunately, we were prepared. Right now, the other side probably hasn't found out yet. My heart felt like someone had dipped it in ice-cold water. Lai Kai called. His first words were filled with anger. Where have you been? Tu Van is so badly injured, why don't you come back and see how she is? I didn't want to argue further, only hearing the other side's loud crying and seductive panting as Deep Kai Lu leaned against Lai Kai. I could understand a mother's feelings, but I couldn't accept the fact that she pushed her own child into the fire just to put all the blame on me. His mother only said one sentence: Bao Deep Kai Lu gave birth to my child, and you have to be so angry? If you are so good, then give birth to one yourself. Wasn't it because you insisted on going to work last time? Otherwise, our child would have pushed the brakes now. People say when a woman is on the brink of collapse, she will see the true nature of the man beside her. It was true. When I got home, I lit a cigarette and sat on the windowsill. Lai Kai also came back. He must have seen the test results I left behind. Congratulations, you're officially a father. His face paled. It was a misunderstanding. He didn't expect her to. I was silent. He suddenly knelt down and bowed his head to me. Honey, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I thought she had an abortion, but she kept it. You know I love children. But our child is gone. I was so sad. Then she said she hadn't aborted the baby. Me. I heard the wind whistling outside the door. Softly speaking. The love between husband and wife once held hands and knees. Tell me the whole truth. Don't lie. Lai Kai choked up as he recounted. He and Deep Kai Lu were childhood sweethearts. They secretly crossed the line. Then she got pregnant. At that time, he passed the university entrance exam. Then he started to know me, so he just left a cold sentence. You take care of yourself. Deep Kai Lu went to the city to work and give birth. She hoped that Lai Kai would come back after graduation to pick her and her child up and start a family. But the person she was waiting for was Lai Kai and I's wedding invitation. Jealous and angry, she went to my mother-in-law and cried. Finally, she softened and tried every way to keep her by her son's side. I smiled bitterly. No wonder everyone in the village hated me. So it was me. I am the third wheel in their midst. After all, I am the third wheel. Li Kai kowtowed to the ground, begging me for forgiveness over and over again. I didn't answer. I just wanted to see how long he could continue to act like a good husband. He stayed, and every day he acted like a devoted husband. But I know your heart is no longer here. And Deep Kai Lu is not back either. She hasn't been live streaming lately. Since I found out that Tu Van was his biological child, he didn't hide it anymore. He even told me, just raise Tu Van as your own child. A few days later, my mother-in-law, as if she had no other choice, brought Tu Van to me to raise. These past few days I didn't get angry, nor did I show any unusual behavior. So she started to hint. If you don't want to raise Tu Van, then let Tu Lu give birth to another son for you. Tu Van lives in my house and eats and sleeps with Lai Kai every day. As for the nursing chair in my room, I broke it a long time ago. I made an excuse to go on a business trip and was away from home for 4 or 5 days. Only Li Kai and Xiao Yun were left at home. The two of them took turns trying to entertain me, even gesturing to the surveillance camera as if they were acting out a happy family drama. But he didn't know. I never left this place. I opened my phone. Coincidentally, Deep Kai Lu also posted a video saying that he was going to meet Top 1. In front of the gate of the luxury apartment complex, Deep Kai Lu stood there waiting for Lai Kai and Tu Van. I bought this apartment a long time ago, but I have never moved in. Of all the properties under my name, this is the most anonymous house. Maybe Lai Kai thought I had forgotten about it. I found it funny, turned on the surveillance camera. The camera recorded the whole house clearly. I clearly remembered that this apartment had not been renovated yet, but in the video the interior was complete like a family home. On the wall was a picture of a family of 3. Deep Kai Lu changed into a new set of pajamas and lovingly put her arms around Lai Kai. I've waited for you for so long, when will you marry me? Li Kai smiled in response. Soon we will be reunited as a family. I curled my lips slightly, feeling resentment rising in my heart, but I was still sober enough to call the police. Hello, I want to report a serious crime of illegal marriage, bigamy. As expected, Li Kai was immediately arrested for bigamy, but I still pretended to be innocent. Li Kai no longer suspected anything. Someone in the company must have filed a lawsuit against you. Come on, can you come and testify for me? Please bail me out. Right away, I packed my bags and went on a week-long vacation. Li Kai was released from prison, his body and mind crippled, his hair disheveled. Honey, I'm leaving, I'm going to work. As soon as he left the house, I immediately turned on the surveillance camera. I can't remember how many times he was in that house, living as a family of 3 with Deep Kai Lu, but I know he will pay the highest price. Li Kai dragged his body home, his face dark. Do I have to be so heartless? He was fired from his job, his record was dirty, and there was no way he could return to society. I sneered. He said nothing, angrily smashing the tea set in front of me. What I hate the most is your arrogant attitude. If it weren't for your parents' help, I would have married you long ago. We were husband and wife after all, I didn't expect you to be this cruel. Cruelly, I looked at the man who was once sweet and gentle, now with a distorted face, criticizing me. I suddenly doubted whether my love back then was real. But then I thought it's not that I loved the wrong person, it's that he pretended too well. Evil Li Kai, if I hadn't discovered it, I would have been the one to leave empty-handed today. Ever since I was in my hometown in England, I locked myself up to check all the assets under my name. And I discovered that 3 years ago, he had secretly started to move my assets. It coincided exactly with the time Xiao Yun was born. Li Weiwei had no job after graduating from university, so I arranged for her to have a high-paying, leisurely position in the company. She was very smart and she was the one who told me everything. The child that Deep Kai Lu was pregnant with before was indeed aborted. But 3 years ago she found Li Kai and they started having an affair again. It turned out that he had been having an affair for 3 years, sleeping in the same bed for so long, I was always secretly stabbed by the person beside my pillow. He was silent, finally understanding that I knew everything. A divorce is fine, but you have to leave me a house and a car. I laughed almost out loud. Li Kai, you are the one who sent me away empty-handed. That is already the lightest ending. I tell you, whatever you take from me, even if it is just a needle or thread, don't even think about taking it with you. Li Kai gritted his teeth, his lips trembling with anger, but he couldn't say a word. Li Kai and I had a smooth divorce. He was really good at secretly hiding a car and secretly transferring a house to Deep Kai Lu in advance. After 7 years of marriage, in the end I couldn't keep anything, but instead helped someone else get everything. I also needed to recover my health. I went abroad and spent the most expensive money to recuperate. As soon as I returned home, Yi Kai Li sent me a wedding invitation, inviting me to attend their wedding. I knew she just wanted to tease me, but now, after finishing my treatment, my skin was rosy and radiant. I was no longer the frail woman of the past. And I had also met the second spring of my life. The old friend who introduced me to a job felt sorry for causing trouble for Li Kai, so I went to see him to apologize. I didn't expect him to suddenly confess his love. Tong Shuyan is still single, handsome and rich. But because I had been through an unhappy marriage, I didn't dare to easily get into another relationship. However, he didn't give up, pursuing me relentlessly, little by little melting the defenses in my heart. After getting married, Li Kai and Yi Kai still had no children. My ex-mother-in-law started to suspect and went to a shaman, who said that I was haunting them. A year after the divorce, she came to my door wearing shoes. Can you stay away from my son? Are you a ghost? You're divorced and still clinging to Kai. She sat on my chair as if she was the owner of the house. The fake sheets didn't know how to hold up. Even though they were divorced, she still ruined Kai's life. I thought to myself, we are divorced, why do we still have to be involved in this house? Tell your son to go see a doctor. Before I could finish speaking, my ex-mother-in-law received a call and was immediately overjoyed. I vaguely heard Yi Kai crying she was pregnant. Before leaving, she spat. The one who is sick is you. Thinking back on it, talking about her ex-mother-in-law, it was really funny. When I married Lai Kai, she pretended to be generous and refused to move to the city to live with us, but in the middle of the night she called me and said she was jealous because we lived in a villa. In fact, she just wanted me to build her a villa in the countryside. At that time I saw that she lived alone. There was no need to make a big deal out of it. Now that I think about it, maybe that's why she hates me. As for Deep Kai Lu, she still live streams regularly. Every day she records videos updating on how much progress has been made in the new villa, and how big her belly is. All of these things were told to me by Li YY. She was free, so she would chat with me enthusiastically every day, full of humor and light-heartedness. Song Chuan and I were married. To announce to the world, he even bought a billboard and posted our wedding photos on it. I was both surprised and laughed. He was really crazy. Coincidentally, my company just had a tourism project taking place right in my ex-husband's hometown. There was no other way. I had to return to the place that had hurt me so much. But this time it was different. The people there no longer spoke cruel words of sarcasm, but respectfully called me General Manager Du. Because if this project falls into someone's house, it is a huge amount of money, not to make rich, but enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Lai Kai's house is in chaos. I don't even need to find out. Someone came to tell me. Deep Kai Lu gave birth to a son. Tragically, the child did not resemble Lai Kai at all. His mother was suspicious and secretly went for a DNA test. The results showed that there was no blood relationship. But that villa was built under Deep Kai Li's name, and the assets were also held by her. After losing his job, Lai Kai wanted to find a new job that was both prestigious and leisurely like before. But because of his dirty record, no company dared to accept him. Since the day he found out that the child was not his, he lived in a drunken stupor, bored with life every day. One time while drunk he accidentally injured the child, causing damage to the eardrum and possibly permanent hearing loss. Deep Kai Lu, a smart person, realized the situation was bad, quietly packed up her things, took her child and ran away. But then, she was banned from live streaming because she had posted too much content, and eventually returned home empty-handed. The two of them fought their way through the crowd and ran straight towards me. "Little wine, I heard you're still not married." I clasped my hands behind my back and smiled gently. "I have a child." The two of them looked as if they had been beaten. Lai Kai stood behind me, quietly looking at me, no longer having any of his previous arrogant air. When everyone had dispersed, he took the initiative to come see me. "Seeing me like this, you must be happy, right?" I shook my head. "We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Can you let this project fall into my family? Consider it. For the sake of our unborn child." Smack, I slapped him right in the face. "Don't ever mention that child in front of me again." He was a worthy person and said nothing more. He was no longer the same Li Kai as before. Before leaving I said coldly, "Go test again at a reputable place." The project results did not fall into their village. Back home, Li YY excitedly recounted with a face full of curiosity. Lai Kai listened to her and really did the test again. The result was 99.98%. Confirming the biological father-son relationship. It's over. Some people choose to lie for life. Some people choose to pay the price of their whole life to understand the word cause and effect. As for me, I have escaped and live as myself. That's all for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more great stories. Goodbye and see you again.